Chapter 14, Return to the U.S. A year and a half later, I returned home from Vietnam. I was telling my family about my experiences in Vietnam, and I knew this particular subject had to come up sometime. For me, it was a proverbial elephant in the room, and I couldn't avoid the subject forever. Since I was no longer in danger from that military commander or his subordinates by telling anyone, I decided to tell my parents what had happened on Good Friday, 1971. That was when I had a real surprise. To my utter amazement, I discovered that my father had experienced a knowing, a sense that I was in deep trouble on Good Friday of 1971. Even more than a year later, he remembered the day very clearly. He recounted that he was doing the usual chores, feeding the cattle, and had gone up into the haymow on that Friday morning to throw a few bales of hay down to feed the steers. Keep in mind that Eastern Daylight Time in Ohio is 11 hours behind the local time in Vietnam, which was on the other side of the world and the international dateline. So, Good Friday at 7 a.m. in Ohio would have still been 8 p.m. Good Friday evening in Vietnam, the exact time I was in the Buddhist cemetery. As he was about to throw a bale of hay down to the steers, he stopped as a sense of foreboding came over him. He had a sense of impending danger for his son, Alan, that came over him. He didn't question or pause, but simply knelt beside the bale of hay and prayed. After spending some time praying for me, he then told me that he felt a remarkable sense of calm and peace envelop him. Somehow he was assured that I would be safe from whatever harm and danger was threatening me. Even more astounding to me, years later, my maternal Aunt Velma Fry Camp would tell me a very similar story. She had kept it a secret until after her sister's, my mother Bertha's, death. One evening, she listened to me tell my story at a local church, and she came up afterwards and asked me a rather strange question. "Do you think I look a bit like your sister Orlean?" she asked. In reality, she wondered if I thought that her facial features were similar to my sister Orlean's, or to be clearer, she wondered if she, not Orlean, was the second vision I had seen in the night sky in Vietnam. She then went on to tell me her knowing story. She had been happily singing Easter songs while vacuuming the house, and all of a sudden had a sense that I was in grave danger. It was not precipitated by anything seen in the room, such as cards from me or books. She decided to kneel beside the vacuum cleaner and pray. Then she chanced to look up at the wall. To her utter amazement, but some confusion, she saw that the border trim of her wallpaper had the words that she could easily read, "Alan is in grave danger." She prayed for me, that God would protect me from whatever danger I was in. She said that after a time, the words miraculously changed to, "Alan is safe." She, like my father, also felt a sense of peace and calm come over her after praying for me. She didn't tell me this knowing story immediately upon hearing it from me for the first time, but waited years to tell me. There was a specific reason for waiting, and I would describe it as a kind of thoughtful reason. She loved her sister and felt that if she shared her experience publicly, especially after learning from Alan what had happened on the other side of the world that night, my mother might feel in some way less than worthy. Maybe my mother would feel that she had failed me in some way, not having had the same knowing experience that John and Velma had experienced. Aunt Velma simply wished to spare her sister's feelings. I told her that it was a very kind and thoughtful thing to do for my mother. When she later told me her story, I embraced her and we shed some tears, knowing that she had been very kind to my mother. But at the same time, she was very firm, forthright, and transparent about the nature of her vision and experience. It was real to her and very real to me. The Holy Spirit, the great communicator, had spoken to all of us at the same time, giving them the gift of knowing my plight, and in so doing allowed them to intercede on my behalf and protect me from harm and danger. This was again a confirmation of my faith in God and the protective power of the Holy Spirit.